My son had planned for me to cook for 45 people this Christmas, without including me at the main table. My daughter-in-law made it clear, with that cold smile I knew so well, that I could eat in the kitchen after serving everyone. So, on the morning of December 24th, I changed my plans. What happened next made Liam exclaim in front of all his guests, "What? This can't be happening. If you have ever been treated like you are invisible in your own family, if you have ever given everything and received crumbs in return, stay until the end of this story and tell me if I went too far with what I did. But let me tell you how we got to that point. Let me show you exactly what led me to take the most radical decision of my 66 years of life. It all started 3 weeks before Christmas. I was in my house, the same house where I raised my 2 sons, alone after their father passed away 12 years ago, when Liam arrived without warning. He walked in as he always did, with the confidence of someone who believes everything belongs to him, including my time and my entire life. He did not ask me how I was. He did not notice that I had just arrived from the grocery store carrying 6 heavy bags at 66 years old. He simply sat at my dining table, opened his laptop, and started talking as if he were in a business meeting. "Mom, this year, we are going to do Christmas dinner differently," he said, without looking up from the screen. "Harper and I decided it is time to do something big, something memorable. We are going to invite 45 people. 45 people." I left the bags on the floor. I felt a strange weight in my chest, but I still did not understand what was really happening. "Oh, honey, how nice," I said, wiping my hands on my apron. "And where are you going to hold this dinner? Did you rent a banquet hall?" Liam looked at me as if I had just said something absurd, as if the answer were so obvious it did not even deserve an explanation. "Here, Mom. At your house. Like always. Like always." Those 2 words fell on me like stones. Because he was right. It had always been at my house. It had always been me cooking. It had always been my invisible labor holding up every family celebration while others received the applause. "But Liam," I tried to keep my voice calm, 45 people is a lot. I usually make dinner for 10, maximum 15. That is why I am letting you know ahead of time." He interrupted me, still looking at his laptop. "Harper already made the guest list. Her bosses from the law firm are coming. Some important clients of mine, family, close friends. It is an incredible networking opportunity, Mom. We need everything to be perfect. Networking. Important clients." My family's Christmas dinner had turned into a corporate event, and no one had asked me if I wanted to be part of that. "And is Harper going to help cook?" I asked, although I already knew the answer. Liam finally closed the laptop. He looked at me with that expression he used when he was a child and wanted something, half pleading, half automatic expectation that I would say yes. "Mom, you know Harper doesn't cook. Besides, she is going to be busy greeting the guests, making sure everything flows well. You are the one with the talent for this. Everyone always says your food is amazing. Everyone always says. But none of those everyone would be in the kitchen with me for 18 hours preparing roast turkey, glazed ham, prime rib, salads, and pies for 45 people. None of those everyone was going to wash mountains of dishes at midnight while the others made toasts in the living room." "Liam, I need to think about it," I said finally. "It is a lot of work for one person alone." His expression changed. The pleading disappeared. Something harder took its place. "Think about it? Mom, it is already decided. We already sent the invitations. Everyone confirmed. You can't back out now. It is already decided. We already sent the invitations." Not once had he asked if I was available, if I wanted to do it, if I had other plans. They simply assumed that my life, my time, my Christmas, belonged to them. I didn't decide anything. "Liam," my voice came out firmer than I expected. "You decided for me." He stood up. He put the laptop in his backpack with abrupt movements. "Don't start with the drama, Mom. It is just a dinner. You have done this your whole life. I don't understand why it is a problem now." And there it was. The phrase that summarized everything. "You have done this your whole life." As if that justified me continuing to do it forever. As if my years, my fatigue, my own dreams did not matter because a pattern already existed. "I need to know something," I said before he left. "Will I be at the main table? Will I have dinner with you and the guests?" Liam stopped at the door. He did not look at me when he answered. Well, Mom, you understand that space is limited. Harper organized the seating chart. The important guests need to be together to, well, you know. Am I going to be at the table or not, Liam? Silence. A silence that hurt more than any word. Can you eat later, Mom, when you finish serving? Harper says it is better that way. More practical. More practical. I could eat in my own kitchen, in my own house, after serving 45 people, while my son and daughter-in-law played at being important hosts with people who did not even know me. Liam left without saying goodbye. I remained standing in my kitchen, surrounded by unput-away grocery bags, feeling something crack inside me, something that had been fracturing for years, but finally broke completely that day. That night I could not sleep. I lay staring at the ceiling of my bedroom, that same ceiling I had seen thousands of nights while planning birthdays, graduations, Christmases, every family celebration of the last 30 years. It had always been me. Always my house. Always my invisible work sustaining everyone else's happiness. I thought about last Christmas. 14 people. I cooked from 5 in the morning until 8 at night. When I finally sat down to eat, the food was already cold. Harper had taken photos of every dish and uploaded them to her social media with incredibly long descriptions about the beautiful family tradition and the magic of the holidays. Not a single mention of who had cooked all that, not a single photo of me. When someone commented asking for the recipes, Harper replied, "They are family secrets passed down from generation to generation, as if she had anything to do with it." I thought about Liam's birthday 6 months ago. 40 guests. I made 3 different types of meats, salads, sides, and a 3-tier cake. Harper put on a spectacular burgundy dress and welcomed everyone at the door like the perfect hostess. When the party ended and the last guests left at 2 in the morning, she went to sleep. I stayed up washing dishes until 4:30 in the morning. The next day, Liam gave me $250 for the trouble and told me I didn't have to work so hard, as if my effort were optional, as if I had chosen to stay awake for 20 hours straight. I thought about the graduation of Caleb, my younger son, 3 years ago. I paid for the entire banquet because Caleb had just started working and had no money. $2,800 from my savings. Liam gave the speech in front of everyone, talking about family sacrifice and unconditional support. Everyone applauded. I was in the kitchen, checking that we didn't run out of ice. Nobody mentioned where the money for that party had come from. I got up at 3 in the morning and went down to the kitchen. I took out an old notebook where I wrote down expenses. I started to add it up. Christmases, birthdays, baptisms, anniversaries, Sunday lunches, the last 10 years, ingredients, decorations, my time calculated at a modest minimum wage because I didn't even dare to value my work like that of a professional chef. The figure knocked the wind out of me. $57,400, almost $60,000 out of my pocket and my labor at celebrations where I was treated like invisible service staff. At 7 in the morning, my doorbell rang. It was Susan, my neighbor and friend for 20 years. We met when she moved into the house next door, newly divorced and with 2 small children. I brought her food that first week. She never forgot it. Susan entered with her usual energy, but her smile vanished when she saw my face. "What happened? You look terrible." I told her everything. The 45 people, the main table where I wasn't included, the you can eat later in the kitchen, Harper organizing my house as if it were hers, Liam taking my servitude for granted with 3 weeks' notice. Susan said nothing for several minutes. She poured herself coffee. She sat across from me, and then she spoke with that brutal clarity that only a true friend can afford. "Eleanor, when was the last time they did something for you?" The question hit me. I tried to think. I searched my memory for some recent moment where Liam or Harper had organized something for me, celebrated something of mine, taken into account what I needed or wanted. "My birthday," I said finally, 8 months ago. They came for dinner. Did they bring anything? Did they cook? Did they take you somewhere? Silence. The truth is that I had cooked. They arrived with a $30 bouquet of flowers and a card. They ate. They left early because Harper had a meeting the next day. "They are using you," Susan said bluntly. "And the worst part is that you already know it. You have known it for years. But this time they crossed the line. This time they crossed a line that cannot be ignored. She was right. I knew it. But admitting it out loud meant having to do something about it. It meant breaking the pattern. It meant disappointing my son. And my whole life had revolved around not disappointing my children. I can't just refuse, I said weakly. They already sent the invitations. People already confirmed. If I don't cook, they are going to look bad. They are going to look bad, repeated Susan. Them, not you. They made the decision without asking you. They are going to face the consequences. But I was still trapped in that mental prison I had spent decades building brick by brick. The prison of maternal sacrifice. The prison of family comes first. The prison of a good mother is always available. Susan leaned over the table. She took my hands. You know what hurts me the most about all this? That they are taking away your own Christmas. You also deserve to enjoy that night. You also deserve to sit at a nice table, toast with people who value you, eat something delicious that someone else prepared for you. When was the last time you had a real Christmas? I couldn't answer because the tears started to fall. Susan was right. I hadn't had a real Christmas in over 30 years. It had always been me serving someone else's Christmas, me creating the magic for others to enjoy, me exhausting myself so others could rest. You have to do something, insisted Susan. Something that makes them understand that your life does not belong to them, that your time has value, that your presence is a gift, not an obligation. 2 days later, Liam returned, this time with Harper. They brought a laptop full of spreadsheets and schedules. They sat in my living room like executives presenting a project. Harper pulled out a printed list. 16 pages, detailed menus for 45 people with vegetarian, gluten-free, and dairy-free options. 3 people with specific allergies. 1 guest who didn't eat pork. Another who needed everything organic. I did a complete investigation of dietary preferences, said Harper with professional pride. We need everything to be perfect, Eleanor. The partners at my firm are very demanding. Eleanor. She didn't even call me Mom. To her, I was hired staff. I calculated that you will need to start cooking on December 20th. She continued, turning pages. Some dishes can be made in advance. The turkey, obviously, on the same day. I projected that you will need approximately 12 hours on the 24th. I have organized the kitchen flow for maximum efficiency. 12 hours. On December 24th, my Christmas reduced to 12 hours of forced labor to impress my daughter-in-law's bosses. Liam noticed my silence. He interpreted my lack of response as confusion, not the indignation it really was. Mom, I know it sounds like a lot of work, but think of it this way. It is an investment in my career. Harper is about to become a partner at her firm. These contacts can change our future, and you are a fundamental part of that success. Fundamental part. What an elegant way to say free labor. Harper added something that finished breaking what little was left of my patience. Also, Eleanor, I have thought about the logistics of the night. Since you are going to be busy in the kitchen, it makes no sense for you to waste time going back and forth to the dining room. I am going to set up a small table here in the kitchen for you. That way you can eat while you watch to make sure everything keeps running. It is more practical. A table in the kitchen. In my own house, so that I could eat alone while 45 people enjoyed the work of my hands in my dining room? And where are those 45 people going to sit? I asked with a strangely calm voice. We are going to rent tables and chairs, explained Liam. We will put them in the living room, the dining room, and part of the backyard. I already spoke with the rental company. They arrive on the 23rd in the afternoon to set everything up. They were going to turn my house into an event hall. Without asking me, without including me, using my space as a free resource for their social ambitions. And how much do you think all the food is going to cost? I asked. Liam and Harper exchanged a look. Harper took out another sheet. I made an approximate budget. With quality ingredients, we calculated about $2,200. Obviously, we are going to cover the expenses, Eleanor. We don't expect you to pay for anything. How generous. They were going to pay for the ingredients for the food that I would cook for free for days. My work, my time, my Christmas apparently had no price. Only the ingredients deserved financial compensation. And my work? The words came out before I could stop them. How much is my work worth? The silence in the room was uncomfortable. Liam shifted in his seat. Harper frowned as if I had said something inappropriate. "Mom, it is not work," said Liam finally. "It is family. It is what you have always done. No one is asking you for anything you haven't given voluntarily before." Voluntarily. As if I ever had a real option to say no. As if 30 years of conditioning and expectations hadn't built an invisible cage around my freedom. "Besides," added Harper with that condescending tone, "I detested so much. You are going to receive credit. I am going to tell everyone that you cooked. Your name is going to be in the conversations. My name was going to be in the conversations while I was hidden in the kitchen. What an honor! What profound recognition." They left half an hour later, leaving the 16 pages of instructions on my table. Schedules, shopping lists, dietary specifications. Everything meticulously planned except for one small detail. No one had asked me if I wanted to participate in this circus. That night I called Caleb, my younger son. He had always been different from Liam. More sensitive, more aware. He lived in another state, but we spoke often. "Mom, that is crazy," he said after listening to the whole story. "Liam really told you to eat in the kitchen?" Harper organized it that way. Liam didn't say anything against it. Caleb sighed deeply. I heard contained rage in his voice. "Mom, you have to tell them no. This is no longer normal. This is pure exploitation." "But they already sent the invitations, Caleb. 45 people already confirmed. That is their problem, Mom. Not yours. They created this mess without your consent. Let them solve it." But I was still terrified. Terrified of disappointing. Terrified of being selfish. Terrified of breaking that role of the selfless mother I had played for decades until I forgot who I was beneath that character. The next few days were strange. Liam sent me constant messages with updates. 3 more people confirmed. Now it is 48. Harper got the 2 main partners from her firm to come. "This is going to be epic, Mom. Epic for them. Slavery for me." Susan came over every afternoon. She would find me in the kitchen looking at the 16 pages of instructions with a lost expression. "Have you decided what you are going to do?" she would ask each time. And each time I would answer the same thing. "I don't know. I can't tell them no at this point." Until one afternoon, Susan got fed up. She closed the instruction binder with a sharp slap on the table. "Eleanor, listen to me closely. Do you remember 5 years ago when you got sick? When you had pneumonia and were in the hospital for 4 days? Of course I remembered. It was horrible. I couldn't breathe well. I got very scared. Do you remember what happened with Thanksgiving dinner that year? The one you always organized?" I stayed silent. I did remember. I was in the hospital. I apologized from my bed, connected to oxygen, feeling guilty for ruining everyone's plans. Liam ordered food from a restaurant. I continued the memory. Harper organized everything at her house. They had the dinner perfectly without you. Did you know that? I knew it. When I got out of the hospital and asked how it went, they showed me photos. They looked happy. The food looked delicious. Everything had worked well without me. "So, why do you think this time is different?" asked Susan, looking at me intently. "They can solve this. They have money. They have contacts. They can hire a catering service. They can rent an event hall. They have 1,000 options. What they don't have is the right to force you to sacrifice your own Christmas for their social ambitions." Something began to move inside me. Something that had been asleep for too long. "You know what you told me 2 years ago," Susan continued. "You told me that when your husband was alive, you always dreamed of spending a Christmas on the beach. Just the 2 of you, watching the sunset. No cooking, no cleaning, just resting." The tears began to fall. I had said that. We had planned it. We were going to do it when the kids were older, when we had more savings, when there was time. But there was never time. And then he died. And the dream died with him. "You are 66 years old, Eleanor. How many more Christmases do you think you have left? How many more are you going to waste serving people who don't even respect you enough to seat you at their table?" That night, after Susan left, I did something I hadn't done in years. I opened my computer and searched for hotels on the beach, places that served Christmas dinner, where I could sit at a nice table with an ocean view and eat food that someone else had prepared for me. I found a resort. 5 stars. They had a special Christmas package. 3 nights, all meals included. Gala dinner on the 24th. The price was high, $2,850 for the 3 nights. Almost everything I had saved from my pension over the last 4 months. Money I had carefully put away for emergencies, for birthday gifts, for those little things one always needs. I looked at the photos of the resort for hours. Bright rooms with balconies facing the sea. Elegant restaurant with decorated tables. Older people like me smiling, relaxed, enjoying themselves. A huge pool. A private beach. Christmas activities. Live music. Everything I had never allowed myself because there was always someone else who needed that money more than I did. I closed the computer. It was crazy. I couldn't spend $2,850 on myself. It was selfish. It was irresponsible. It was exactly the opposite of everything a good mother is supposed to be. But the website remained open in my mind. Those images of freedom, of rest, of being served instead of serving, of having a Christmas that was truly mine. The next day, Sunday, Liam arrived early. He brought Harper and their 2 children, my grandchildren of 7 and 9 years old. I hadn't seen them in 3 weeks because they were always too busy. The children hugged me briefly before running to the backyard with their tablets. Harper was checking her phone. Liam seemed nervous. "Mom, I need to talk to you about something important," he said, sitting on the sofa. My stomach tightened. Now what? The partners from Harper's firm confirmed they are coming. This is huge for us. Really huge. Harper could get the partnership before the end of the year if tonight goes perfectly. I waited. I knew more was coming. "So we need to make some adjustments to the menu." Harper spoke with the wife of one of the partners, and it turns out she is an amateur chef. She has a very popular food blog. She is going to be evaluating everything with a critical eye. An amateur chef with a blog. Wonderful. Now my food was going to be publicly judged by a culinary influencer, while I sweated in the kitchen, excluded from my own celebration. Harper looked up from her phone for the first time. I researched her blog. She is very demanding, very detail-oriented. "We need every dish to be flawless, Eleanor. No mistakes. This can't be common homemade food. It has to be restaurant level. Restaurant level. Made by me alone. In my domestic kitchen. For 48 people. Free." "What if I hire help?" I suggested weakly. "Someone to assist me in the kitchen. I pay half, you pay the other half." Liam shook his head immediately. "No, Mom. We are already spending a lot on renting tables, chairs, decoration. Besides, no one cooks like you. Bringing someone else in would ruin the authenticity of the event." The authenticity of the event. My slavery disguised as authentic family tradition. Harper added something that left me speechless. "Besides, Eleanor, think of this as your Christmas gift to Liam and me. We don't expect anything material from you. Your effort in this dinner is more valuable than anything you could buy. My Christmas gift to them. Days of grueling work. My house invaded. My celebration canceled. My dignity trampled. All wrapped with a bow and presented as a generous gift from me." Something inside me clicked. It was an almost audible sound, like when a string that has been taut for too long snaps. "I need to think about it," I said with a firm voice. Liam's expression changed instantly. The pleading disappeared. Irritation took its place. "Think about it? Mom, Christmas is 10 days away. There is no time to think about it anymore. I need an answer now. Are you going to make the dinner or not?" The ultimatum. Crude, direct, without pretenses of politeness. "I already told you I need to think about it, Liam." Harper stood up. She called the children. Her body language was pure, contained indignation. "I can't believe you are being so difficult about this," said Liam, standing up too. "After everything we have done for you." That phrase hit me like a slap. Everything they had done for me. I tried to remember. I searched my memory for some great sacrifice Liam had made for me in the last few years. "What exactly have you done for me?" The question came out harder than I intended. Liam looked at me as if I had lost my mind. "We visit you often. The kids love you. We include you in the family. We haven't left you alone. We include you in the family." As if my place in my own family were a favor they granted me. As if I should be grateful that they allowed me to exist on the periphery of their lives. "I need to think about it," I repeated. "I will give you an answer tomorrow." They left angry. Harper didn't even say goodbye. The children were so absorbed in their screens they barely noticed leaving. Liam shot me a look of deep disappointment before closing the door. I remained alone in my living room, surrounded by silence, feeling that internal click resonate louder and louder. I called Susan. I needed to hear a friendly voice before doing what I was about to do. "I'm going to do it," I told her when she answered. "I'm going to book the hotel." I heard her scream of joy on the other end of the line. "Seriously? Are you really going to do it?" "I'm scared," I admitted. "I'm so scared, Susan, of hurting them, of being selfish, of making a terrible mistake." "Eleanor, listen to me." Her voice turned serious. "You are not hurting them. They hurt themselves with their unfair expectations. You are not being selfish. They are the selfish ones for assuming your life belongs to them. And the only terrible mistake would be staying here, sacrificing your happiness once more, reinforcing this toxic pattern that has consumed you for decades." She was right. I knew it deep down. But the fear was still there, coiled in my stomach like a snake. "What if they never forgive me?" I whispered. "What if they finally respect you?" answered Susan. "What if this is the only way for them to understand that your love is not infinite when it is treated as an obligation?" Sometimes, Eleanor, the greatest love we can give is the one we refuse to give away for free. That night I opened my computer again. I looked at the photos of the resort one more time. The beach, the restaurant, the rooms, the promise of a Christmas that would finally be mine. I took out my credit card. My hands were trembling. I entered the details. 3 nights. From December 23rd to the 26th, room with ocean view, full Christmas package. My finger hovered over the confirm button. This was the point of no return. Once I pressed that button, everything would change. There would be no turning back. I thought about the 16 pages of instructions on my table, about Harper's voice saying, "You can eat in the kitchen after serving everyone," about Liam telling me that my work was my Christmas gift to them, about 30 years of silent sacrifices that no one had ever really valued. I pressed the button. The confirmation appeared on the screen. Reservation confirmed, a charge of $2,850, an email receipt, a confirmation code. I stared at the screen for long minutes. There was something different in my chest. It wasn't guilt yet. It was something strange and unknown, something I hadn't felt in decades. It was freedom, small, fragile, terrifying, but real. The next day, Liam called early. "Have you thought about it, Mom? I need to confirm to Harper that everything is in order." I took a deep breath. The words I had rehearsed all night refused to come out, but I had to say them. It was now or never. "Liam, I am not going to cook Christmas dinner." Absolute silence on the other end. I could feel his shock coming through the phone line. "What did you say?" I said, "I am not going to cook for 48 people. You didn't ask me if I wanted to do it. You simply assumed, and I am not available." "Mom, this can't be real. You're joking, right?" "I am not joking, Liam. Make whatever decision you make about your dinner, but I am not going to participate." His voice went up 3 octaves. "You're not going to participate? Mom, this is ridiculous. Everything is already organized. 48 people confirmed. What are we supposed to do now?" "I don't know, Liam, but I am sure you will find a solution. You are successful adults with resources. You can hire a catering service. You can book a restaurant. You can order food. You have many options. Options cost money. A lot of money. Do you have any idea how much catering for 48 people costs with 10 days' notice at Christmas time?" There was the truth finally. It wasn't about family tradition. It wasn't about my special talent in the kitchen. It was about money. I was the free option, the convenient option, the option taken for granted. "Liam, if you can spend money renting elegant tables and chairs, on expensive decorations, on impressing Harper's partners, then you can spend money on food. Or you can reduce the guest list to something manageable and cook yourselves. We don't know how to cook for that many people. Neither should I have to do it, Liam. Not at my 66 years. Not alone. Not without even a place at the table you are organizing in my own house." I heard voices in the background. Harper had arrived. Liam was telling her. I heard her cry of indignation even through the phone. "Give me the phone!" Harper's voice sounded furious. "Eleanor, what the hell is going on? Liam says you refuse to cook. This has to be a misunderstanding. It is not a misunderstanding, Harper. I am simply not going to cook for your event. My event? It is the family Christmas dinner. Of your family. A family dinner where I have no place at the main table, where I am supposed to eat alone in the kitchen after serving everyone. That doesn't sound like family to me, Harper. It sounds like hired help. You are exaggerating everything. I told you that you could eat in the kitchen for practicality, so you wouldn't have to be going back and forth. I was thinking of your comfort. It was incredible how she could twist reality, how she could turn my exclusion into a favor she was doing me. Harper, if it were so practical and comfortable, I am sure you wouldn't mind eating in the kitchen yourself, right? Frozen silence. That is completely different, she said finally with a tense voice. I am the hostess. I need to be with the guests. In my house, I reminded her. You are the hostess in my house, using my space, my kitchen, my work. But I am the one who eats hidden away. Don't you see the absurdity of that? You are selfish. Harper's voice broke into a scream. An ungrateful, selfish woman. After everything Liam does for you, after we include you in our lives, this is how you repay us. If including me means using me, I prefer to be excluded, I replied, with a calm that surprised even me. Harper hung up. The silence after that call was deafening. I sat in my kitchen, my heart beating wildly, my hands still shaking. I had done it. I had finally done it. I had said no. The next 2 days were a nightmare of calls, texts, emotional manipulation attempts. Liam called me crying, telling me I was disappointing him at the most important moment of his career. Harper sent me long texts about family responsibility and generational obligations. Even the children sent me voice messages asking why Grandma was ruining Christmas. Caleb called me from his state. Mom, Liam told me, I am so proud of you. Those words broke me. I started to cry. I had been holding back tears for days, trying to stay strong, but hearing pride instead of disappointment disarmed me completely. Caleb, am I a bad mother? I asked between sobs. Am I selfish for doing this? Mom, listen to me closely. You have been the best mother anyone could ask for. You have given everything. You have sacrificed everything. And precisely because of that, it is time for someone to take care of you. If Liam can't understand that, it is his problem, not yours. You deserve a happy Christmas. You deserve to rest. You deserve to be treated with dignity. He says I am going to ruin his career, that Harper isn't going to get the partnership because of me. Caleb let out a bitter laugh. Mom, if Liam's career depends on exploiting you, then his career deserves to fail. And if Harper loses a partnership because she can't organize a dinner without using you as a slave, then she doesn't deserve that partnership. Their professional lives are not your responsibility. Your well-being is. After hanging up with Caleb, I felt a little stronger. But the bombardment of messages continued. Distant relatives Harper had recruited wrote to me saying I was being dramatic. A cousin called to tell me that mothers always sacrifice everything for their children. An aunt sent me a long message about how in her time women were not so selfish. Susan came every night. She found me exhausted, doubting, on the verge of giving in. You can't give in now, she told me. You already took the hardest step. If you back down now, they are going to know they can pressure you until you break. They are going to know there is no limit they can't cross. She was right. But it was so hard to stand firm when the whole world seemed to be telling me I was the villain of this story. On December 20th, Liam appeared at my door. He hadn't called. He simply arrived. He looked terrible. Red eyes, unshaven, rumpled clothes. Mom, please, he said as soon as I opened the door. I beg you, don't do this. Harper is having panic attacks. The partner's already confirmed. We can't cancel now. We are going to look like idiots in front of very important people. Liam, sit down, I told him, pointing to the sofa. I need to tell you something, and I need you to really listen to me. He sat down. He looked like a scared child. For a moment I felt that maternal impulse to comfort him, to tell him everything would be okay, to solve his problem as I had done 1,000 times before. But I held back, because that was exactly the pattern I needed to break. Liam, do you know how much money I have spent on family celebrations in the last 10 years? I took out my notebook where I had done the math. $57,400, without counting my labor, which if I calculated at market rate, would be another $40,000 approximately. Almost $100,000 of my time, my money, and my effort. Liam looked at the notebook without saying anything. Do you know how many times in those 10 years you organized something for me? How many times you invited me to a restaurant without me cooking? How many times you gave me a real day off? Silence. 3 times. Liam. 3 times in 10 years. And on 2 of those occasions, I ended up cooking anyway because you arrived without warning with friends and had no food prepared. Mom. I didn't. Let me finish. My voice was firm but not angry. When your father died, you told me you would take care of me, that I would never be alone. That family was the most important thing, and I believed you. I spent the last 12 years putting family first. Always. Without exceptions. I canceled trips. I spent my savings. I sacrificed my time, my health, my own dreams. All for family. Tears began to fall down my cheeks, but I continued. But family doesn't mean unilateral sacrifice. Liam, family means reciprocity. Family means mutual consideration. And what you are asking of me isn't family love. It is exploitation, disguised as tradition. We didn't want you to feel that way. Liam finally spoke with a broken voice. I thought you liked cooking for us. I thought it made you happy. I liked it when it was appreciated, when it was voluntary, when I had a voice and a vote. But this, I pointed to the 16 pages of instructions that were still on the table. This is not love. This is a work project assigned to me without consultation. And the part about eating alone in the kitchen while everyone enjoys themselves was the breaking point. Harper was trying to be efficient, he said weakly. Harper was trying to keep me invisible, to have the benefits of my labor without the discomfort of acknowledging my humanity. And you allowed it, Liam. You didn't say anything. You didn't defend me. You acted as if it were normal for your mother to be treated like hired staff in her own home. Liam covered his face with his hands. His shoulders shook. What am I going to do, Mom? How am I going to solve this? And there it was again, the plea for me to solve his problem, for me to sacrifice my well-being to save his reputation. I don't know, Liam, but I know it isn't my problem to solve. You created this situation. You solve it. Liam remained silent for several minutes. I could see his mind working, looking for angles, trying to find the right words to convince me. He was a good salesman. He always had been. But this time I wasn't buying. What if we pay you? He said finally. What if we compensate you financially for your work? Let's say $2,000. Cash. Besides the ingredients, $2,000. He was putting a price on me, reducing all the complexity of this situation to a commercial transaction. Liam, this isn't about money. $3,000 then? Mom, be reasonable. Tell me what you need to make this work. I need you to see me, Mom. The words came out loaded with years of pain. I need you to treat me like your mother, not like your employee. I need you to understand that my time has value, that my presence is a gift, that my love isn't an infinite resource from which you can extract without limits. I see you, Mom. I value you. Really? Then why, when Harper suggested I eat in the kitchen, did you say nothing? Why didn't it seem horrible to you that your own mother was excluded from the main table in her own house? Liam opened his mouth. He closed it. He had no answer, because the truth was, he hadn't thought about it. He hadn't considered my feelings because my comfort had never been part of the equation. It was a mistake, he said finally. A terrible mistake. But, Mom, I can't cancel now. I literally can't. Harper's partners, my most important clients, everyone is going to be there. If we cancel at the last minute, we are going to look unprofessional, like people who don't honor their commitments. You are people who don't honor your commitments, I told him. The commitment to your mother, the commitment to treat me with respect, the commitment to consider my needs. You broke those commitments a long time ago. He stood up. The desperation on his face was real, but something in me had hardened. I had crossed an internal line and I wasn't going to back down. So what? Are you going to stay here alone on Christmas while we deal with this disaster you helped create? The accusation in his voice hurt me, but it also confirmed to me that I had made the right decision. I am not going to stay alone on Christmas, Liam. I am going to the beach. I am going to stay at a beautiful hotel. I am going to eat food that someone else prepared for me. I am going to watch the sunset over the ocean. I am going to do all the things your father and I dreamed of doing together, but never could because there was always something more important, always someone else who needed my time. Liam looked at me as if I had just announced I was joining a circus. The beach? On Christmas? Alone? Not alone, Liam. With myself. Which is very different. This is crazy. You are having some kind of crisis. It isn't a crisis. It is clarity. For the first time in decades, I have absolute clarity about what I deserve and what I am not going to tolerate anymore. He left, slamming the door. I heard his car start with rage. The silence that followed was immense. I sat on the sofa and took a deep breath. Every difficult conversation was costing me pieces of my heart, but it was also liberating me. It was a necessary pain, like when they clean an infected wound. It hurts, but it is the only way to heal. Susan arrived 20 minutes later. She had seen Liam's car leave. How was it? Terrible. He offered me money. He told me I am having a crisis. He blamed me for the disaster they created. Susan sat next to me and took my hand. Eleanor, do you know what is the saddest part of all this? That Liam really doesn't understand what he did wrong. In his mind, he was including you in something important. He was giving you a role. He can't see that that role was degrading because he has never had to experience what it feels like to be invisible. She was right. Liam had grown up being the center of attention, the oldest son, the successful one, the one everyone admired. He had never experienced what it was to work hard and have no one notice, to give everything and receive crumbs disguised as gratitude. The next 2 days were quieter. Liam didn't call. Harper didn't either. I started packing. Swimsuits I hadn't worn in years, light dresses, sandals, a book I had been wanting to read for months, sunscreen, everything necessary for my little adventure of freedom. Caleb called me on the night of the 22nd. Mom, Liam called me. He is furious. He says you ruined his Christmas. I know. He also told me you are going to the beach, that you left a confirmed reservation. That is right. Caleb laughed, a genuine laugh, full of joy. Mom, I am so proud of you, so incredibly proud. I wish I could be there with you. I wish you were here too, my love. But your family needs you there. It is your first Christmas with your wife and daughter. Enjoy it. Are you sure you want to go alone? I can send money so you can take Susan with you. I need to do this alone, Caleb. I need to prove to myself that I can. That after so many years defined by my role as mother, there still exists an Eleanor underneath. And I need to get to know her again. There was an emotional silence on the other end. I love you, Mom. And just so you know, what you did isn't selfishness. It is survival. It is dignity. It is exactly what you had to do. The morning of the 23rd dawned clear and beautiful. I finished packing my small suitcase. I checked the house one last time. I filled the refrigerator with simple food, just in case I was hungry when I returned. I left everything clean, orderly. And then I did something that I know was cruel, but was necessary. I wrote a note, brief, direct. I left it stuck to the refrigerator door with a magnet, gone to fulfill my Christmas dream. I hope you managed to solve the event on the 24th. There are numbers for catering services in the kitchen drawer. Or you can cancel and be honest with your guests. I will return when I want to. Eleanor, I didn't leave the hotel number. I didn't leave a way to contact me. I turned off my phone before leaving the house. I put the suitcase in my old car and drove toward the coast. It was a 4-hour drive. 4 hours where my mind oscillated between the euphoria of freedom and the terror of consequences. What would be happening at Liam's house? When would they discover my note? What would they do? But every time fear threatened to make me turn around, I thought of Harper's phrase, "She can eat in the kitchen after serving everyone." I thought of years of being invisible, of unrecognized sacrifices, of love taken for granted until it became an obligation, and I kept driving. The resort was more beautiful than it looked in the photos. Palm trees swaying in the breeze, the constant sound of the sea, relaxed people walking in beach clothes. Everything felt like another world. A world where I wasn't a mother, nor a grandmother, nor a cook, nor a servant. I was just Eleanor, a 66-year-old woman who deserved a vacation. Check-in was simple. The receptionist smiled at me with genuine warmth. "Mrs. Eleanor, welcome. You have a beautiful room on the 3rd floor with a balcony facing the sea. The restaurant is serving a gala dinner tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Traveling alone?" "Yes," I replied, and for the first time that word didn't sound sad. It sounded powerful. "Wonderful. We hope you enjoy your stay. Merry Christmas in advance." I went up to my room. I opened the door, and the sea air rushed in. The balcony looked straight out to the beach. The sunset was beginning, painting the sky orange, pink, violet. It was the kind of beauty that reminds you the world is huge and that your problems, however painful, are small in comparison. I sat on the balcony. I breathed the salty air, and for the first time in weeks, I felt peace. My phone was still off at the bottom of my bag. I didn't know what was happening at Liam's house. I didn't know if they had found my note. I didn't know how they were reacting. And in that moment, looking at the infinite ocean in front of me, I realized something liberating. I didn't care, or rather, I cared, but not enough to sacrifice this moment of peace I had needed so much. That night, I dined at the hotel restaurant. A small table with an ocean view. An attentive waiter who brought me water without me having to ask. A menu where I could choose whatever I wanted without thinking about budgets or others' preferences. I ordered garlic shrimp, fresh salad, a glass of white wine, chocolate mousse for dessert, simple but delicious food, and most importantly, food I hadn't prepared, food someone else had cooked for me with care and attention. While I ate, I observed the other people in the restaurant. Older couples holding hands, families with small children. Some people alone, like me, reading books or simply enjoying the view. No one knew me there. No one expected anything from me. I was just another woman enjoying her vacation. The morning of the 24th, I woke up to the sound of waves. For a moment, in that confusion between sleep and wakefulness, I forgot where I was. Then I remembered everything. The fight, the decision, the trip. And instead of the knot of anxiety I expected to feel, I found something akin to tranquility. I got up slowly. There were no alarms. There was no to-do list waiting for me. There was no giant turkey to thaw, no mountain of vegetables to chop, no impossible schedule to meet. I went out to the balcony with my coffee. The sea was calm. Some people were already walking on the beach. An older man was exercising. A young couple was looking for shells. Everything moved at a leisurely pace, without urgency. I thought about what would be happening at my house right now. Liam would have gone early to supervise the arrival of the tables and chairs. Probably found my note last night or this morning. I imagined his face reading it. The disbelief, the rage, the panic, part of me, that maternal part that still beat strong after so many years, wanted to turn on the phone, wanted to know if they were okay, if they had found a solution, if they hated me. But the part of me that had finally awakened, that part that had been asleep for decades under layers of selflessness and sacrifice, reminded me why I was here. It reminded me that they were capable adults, that they had resources, that this problem was theirs, not mine. I left the phone off. I had breakfast at the hotel restaurant. Fresh fruit, freshly baked bread, eggs prepared exactly how I liked them. The waiter was a kind young man who asked me if I was enjoying my stay. "It is my first time traveling alone," I told him, not knowing why I felt the need to share it. "And how is it?" he asked with genuine curiosity. "Terrifying," I admitted. "But also liberating," he smiled with understanding. "My mom did the same thing a few years ago. After 30 years of marriage and raising 4 kids, she took a trip alone for the first time. She said it was the most important experience of her life, that she reconnected with herself." His words gave me unexpected comfort. I wasn't alone in this. There were other women who had made this same type of radical decision, who had chosen dignity over family comfort. I spent the morning on the beach. I took my book, but barely opened it. I was too absorbed watching the sea, feeling the sand between my toes, listening to the hypnotic rhythm of the waves. Around noon, an older woman sat near me. She had to be at least 75, but she moved with vibrant energy. She wore a huge coral-colored hat and sunglasses with rhinestones. "Beautiful day," she said, smiling. "Beautiful." I agreed. First time here. Yes. And you? Oh, I come every year. Since I was widowed 7 years ago, Christmas with family became complicated after my husband died. Too many expectations, too much drama. So I decided to create my own tradition. I stared at her. It was like seeing a version of me from the future, a version that had found peace. Don't you miss them? Your family? At first, they got very angry, she said with a laugh. My daughters called me selfish. My grandkids didn't understand why Grandma wouldn't be there for Christmas. But you know what? After the first year, something changed. They started to value my presence when I chose to give it. They started inviting me to things on my terms. And I discovered I was much happier being a grandmother by choice than by obligation. Her words resonated in my chest like bells. Did you ever doubt your decision? Every minute of the first trip, she admitted. I was about to go back like 5 times, but I forced myself to stay. And when I returned home after those days of peace, I was a different woman, a woman who finally understood her own value. We talked for more than an hour. She told me about her daughters, her grandkids, how eventually the relationships were repaired but on healthier terms. She told me something I won't forget. Sometimes the greatest act of love we can give is teaching others how to treat us. And sometimes that requires discomfort. When she left, I stayed thinking about her words. Teaching others how to treat us. My whole life I had taught Liam that he could use my time without consequences, that he could take my love for granted, that my presence was an infinite resource to extract from without limits. I was changing that lesson. Late, but not too late. The afternoon passed slowly and sweetly. I swam in the pool. I took a nap in my room. I read chapters of my book. I did all those little things I had always wanted to do, but never had time for because there was always something more urgent to attend to. At 6, I started getting ready for the gala dinner. The hotel had announced it would be something special. Live music, Christmas decorations, a 4-course menu. While I dressed, I thought about what would be happening at my house right now. 6 in the evening. Guests would start arriving in 2 hours. The kitchen should be full of aromas, food almost ready, frantic activity. But it wasn't. Because I wasn't there. I imagined Liam and Harper running from one side to the other. Maybe they had gotten some last-minute food. Maybe they had canceled. Maybe they were serving pizza for 48 people while inventing excuses. I felt a twinge of guilt. But I also felt something stronger. Justice. Not revenge. Justice. The natural consequence of years of lack of consideration. I went down to the restaurant at 8 o'clock sharp. They had assigned me a table by the window. The place was beautifully decorated, warm Christmas lights, candles on every table, a huge tree in the corner. The waiter brought me complimentary champagne. "Merry Christmas," he said with a smile. "Merry Christmas," I replied. And for the first time in years, the words felt true. The dinner was extraordinary. It started with a creamy and delicate seafood bisque, then a salad with caramelized pears and walnuts. The main course was a perfectly cooked filet mignon with roasted vegetables, and for dessert, a raspberry mousse that melted in the mouth. Every bite was a celebration, not just of flavors, but of freedom, of being seated at a beautiful table, of being served with respect and attention, of not having to get up between courses to check something in the kitchen. Halfway through dinner, the hotel brought in a jazz quartet. They played Christmas carols, Silent Night, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, White Christmas. The music filled the space with warmth and joy. I looked around the restaurant, families sharing, couples toasting, people alone like me, enjoying their own company. Everyone celebrating in their own way. Everyone creating their own versions of Christmas. And I realized something profound. Christmas wasn't a single format. It didn't always have to be the same way. It didn't have to involve sacrifice and exhaustion to be valid. It could be this: peace, beauty, choice. After dinner, I went out to walk on the beach. The night was perfect, the sky full of stars, the sound of the sea like a constant lullaby. I sat on the sand and, finally, after almost 36 hours, turned on my phone. The screen exploded with notifications. 147 missed calls, more than 200 messages, the family group chat with more than 500 new messages. My heart started beating fast. Part of me wanted to turn off the phone again. But I needed to know. I needed to see what had happened. I opened Liam's messages first. They started desperate. "Mom, where are you? We found your note. This can't be happening. Please answer." Then they became furious. "How could you do this to us? You humiliated us. There are 48 people arriving, and there is no food. You are selfish." And finally, the last ones, sent just an hour ago, sounded different. Defeated. Real. "Mom, it was a disaster. A complete disaster. Harper is crying. The partners left early. We had to order Chinese food for takeout, and it wasn't even enough for everyone. We looked like idiots in front of very important people. But more than anything, I realized something. I realized I never valued what you did. I never understood how much work it was, how much of yourself you gave, and I took it all for granted. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry." I read the message 3 times. There was genuine pain there, real regret. It wasn't perfect. It didn't solve years of toxic patterns. But it was a start. I read some messages from the family group. Harper had written long explanations blaming me. But some relatives had replied defending me. My cousin Anne had written, "Maybe you should have asked before assuming. Eleanor is not your employee." Caleb had sent a message. "Mom is 66. She deserves a Christmas where someone takes care of her for a change. I'm glad she is finally doing something for herself." I sat on the sand for a long time, the phone in my hands, waves caressing my bare feet. Part of me wanted to reply immediately, wanted to explain, wanted to comfort Liam, tell him everything would be okay, that we could fix this. But that was the old Eleanor, the one who always ran to fix others' pain, even when that pain was the natural consequence of their own actions. The new Eleanor, the one being born on this beach under the stars, knew that replying now would be a mistake. They needed to feel the full weight of what had happened. They needed to sit with the discomfort. They needed to understand, not intellectually but viscerally, what it meant to plan something important and have someone not show up, have someone leave them hanging, have someone prioritize their own needs over theirs. They needed to experience exactly what they had made me feel for years. I turned off the phone again. I put it in my bag, and I went back to my room. That night I slept deeply, without guilt, without anxiety, just the satisfied tiredness of a day well lived. The morning of the 25th dawned radiant. It was officially Christmas. I woke up without gifts to open, without boisterous family around, without the traditional chaos that had always defined this date, and I felt completely at peace. I had a quiet breakfast, returned to the beach. The hotel had organized Christmas activities, yoga on the sand, cocktail classes, a treasure hunt for families. I simply sat under a palapa with my book and let the day flow without pressures. Around noon, the woman in the coral hat appeared again. She sat next to me with a knowing smile. "Did you turn on the phone?" she asked directly. I laughed. It was as if she could read my mind. "Yes, last night. And total disaster. Chinese food for 48 people. The important partners left early. Harper crying, Liam finally apologizing. And how did you feel?" I considered the question honestly. Guilty at first, then relieved, and finally, something like justice. Not joy for their suffering, but a sense that consequences finally caught up with actions. She nodded wisely. "That is exactly what you needed to feel, and what they needed to experience. Are you going to reply?" "Not yet. I'm going back on the 26th. I'll see them then. I need the message to be clear. I am not available on demand. My presence is not an automatic right." "Wise decision," she said, squeezing my hand. "And when you go back, don't apologize. Don't minimize what you did. Don't let them convince you that you exaggerated. Stand firm in your limits." Her words were a gift, a reminder that the hard part was just beginning, because it was one thing to escape for 3 days, and something very different to maintain those limits when I went back to face Liam face to face. I passed the rest of the day in quiet contemplation. I walked on the beach for hours. I collected shells. I watched families playing in the water. I watched the sunset painting the sky impossible colors. And at some point in that perfect afternoon, I felt something change inside me. It wasn't dramatic. There was no background music or moment of celestial illumination. It was something more subtle, a silent certainty that I had crossed a threshold from which there was no return. The Eleanor who had arrived at this hotel 3 days ago, scared and guilty, had died. In her place was a woman who finally understood her own value. A woman who knew that true love included healthy boundaries. A woman who wasn't going to sacrifice her dignity anymore on the altar of family duty. On the night of the 25th, I dined again at the restaurant. This time I ordered lobster. Something I had never allowed myself because it always seemed too expensive, too extravagant. But that night, looking at the silver sea under the moon, I enjoyed every bite without an ounce of guilt. The young waiter, the same one from previous days, approached at the end of dinner. "Excuse the personal question," he said shyly, "but I notice you eat alone and seem very happy. My mom always says being alone is sad, but you don't look sad at all." I smiled. How observant this young man was. "Your mom probably never learned the difference between loneliness and solitude," I told him. "Loneliness is when you miss someone. Solitude is when you enjoy your own company. They are completely different things." He nodded thoughtfully. "I'm going to tell her. I think she could use hearing that." After dinner, I walked through the hotel gardens. There was a small, open chapel decorated with soft lights. I entered. Although I am not particularly religious, there was something in the space that invited reflection. I sat on one of the benches, and for the first time in 3 days, I cried. Not from sadness, not from regret. I cried for all the past Christmases where I had smiled while breaking inside. For all the years where I had prioritized everyone except myself. For the young Eleanor who dreamed of adventures but sacrificed them all for responsibility. I cried for her. For everything she could never be because there was always someone more important. And then, when the tears dried, I felt something like forgiveness. Not toward Liam or Harper. Toward myself. For all the years where I had allowed them to treat me as less. For all the times where I had said yes when I wanted to scream no. For having taken 66 years to finally choose myself. The morning of the 26th arrived with clouds. The sky was gray. It looked like rain. There was something appropriate about that. As if the weather reflected that the parenthesis of peace was ending, and now came the hard part. I packed my things slowly. Every object I put in the suitcase felt like it weighed more than it should, because I knew that with everything I packed, I was getting closer to the moment of returning to reality, to the difficult conversations, to the work of rebuilding relationships on completely new terms. At checkout, the receptionist smiled at me. "Did you enjoy your stay, Mrs. Eleanor?" "More than I can express," I replied honestly. "I am very glad. We hope to see you again." "I will be back," I said with certainty. "Every year. This is my new tradition." The drive back was long, 4 hours where I mentally practiced what I would say, how I would maintain my limits, how I wouldn't let them manipulate me back to old patterns. Susan had been watching my house. When I arrived around 3 in the afternoon, she was waiting for me in my garden. "Eleanor," she ran to hug me. "You look different, relaxed, tan. But above all, you look free." "I feel free," I admitted, terrified of what's coming, but free. "Liam has come every day," said Susan quietly. 3 times yesterday, 2 times today. He is desperate to talk to you. Harper came once too, but I didn't open the door." "Good," I said firmly. "Let them wait a little longer. I need to get settled. I need to center myself before facing them." I entered my house. Everything was exactly as I had left it. Clean. Orderly. But now it felt different. It was no longer just the space where I served others. It was my space, my sanctuary, and never again would I allow someone to turn it into an event hall without my explicit consent. I unpacked. I took a long shower. I made myself tea. And then, when I felt ready, I turned on my phone completely. The notifications were overwhelming. But now there was a new type of message, not just from Liam, but from relatives I never expected. My cousin Anne had written, "We need to talk. I have felt the same way for years too. You are my hero." 2 of my aunts, sisters of my late husband, had sent messages of support. "You did the right thing. We have lived this too. It is time for things to change." Even some of Liam's friends had written, surprisingly, "Bro, your mom is right. What you did to her was wrong." But the message that impacted me most was from someone unexpected. It was from Harper's mother, a woman I barely knew because Harper rarely mentioned her. Eleanor, I am Linda, Harper's mother. My daughter is furious with me for writing to you. But I need to tell you something. I was like you too. I spent 30 years serving my family without limits. And you know what happened to me? I got sick, cancer, accumulated stress that my body couldn't process anymore. I almost died because I never learned to say no. What you did has immense value. Don't let anyone convince you it was wrong. Taking care of yourself is not selfishness. It is survival. I read Linda's message 3 times. Every word resonated with a truth that hit me in the chest. I wasn't alone in this. How many women had lived the same thing? How many were still living it? How many would never find the courage to break the pattern? It was 5 in the afternoon when I heard the doorbell. I looked out the window. It was Liam, alone, without Harper, without the kids. He came with flowers in one hand and an expression I hadn't seen on him in years. Genuine humility. I took a deep breath. This was the moment. I opened the door. Mom. His voice broke immediately. Thank you for opening. I thought you wouldn't want to see me. Come in, I said without emotion. I wasn't going to make this easy. I wasn't going to run to hug him and tell him everything was forgiven. That time was over. Liam entered. He left the flowers on the table. He sat on the sofa where he had been just a week ago, giving me orders about an event he never consulted me on. I don't know where to start, he said, looking at his hands. Start at the beginning, I replied, sitting across from him. Explain to me exactly what happened on the 24th. Liam sighed deeply. And then, for the first time in his adult life, my son told me a story where he was the villain. We found your note around 10 at night on the 23rd. Harper and I had gone to your house to drop off the keys for the rented tables. When we read what you wrote, we thought you were joking, that it was impossible. We kept calling you all night. At 6 in the morning on the 24th, when you still weren't answering, we went into real panic. He paused. I saw tears forming in his eyes. We called every catering service we could find. Everyone was booked or closed for Christmas Eve. We tried restaurants, hotels, nothing. Finally, we got a Chinese restaurant to sell us takeout, but they only had enough for 25 people, not 48. And what did you do? Harper started calling guests to cancel, but the partners from her firm were already on their way. We couldn't contact them in time. They arrived and found chaos, empty tables, us running around like crazy people, the smell of Chinese food from cardboard containers instead of the elegant banquet we had promised. I imagined it. And although I knew I should feel compassion, what I felt was cold justice. The partners stayed 20 minutes out of courtesy. They ate a little. They left early with excuses about other commitments. But Mom, I saw their faces. I saw the disappointment, the judgment. Harper thinks she lost any chance at partnership. And the worst of all is that it was completely our fault. That is right, I said without softening the blow. It was completely your fault. Liam looked up, surprised by my hardness. You planned a huge event without my consent. You assumed my availability. You excluded me from the main table in my own house. You treated me like service staff, and when I told you no, you blamed me for ruining your plans. Plans you never should have made without consulting me first. I know. His voice was barely a whisper. I know, and I have no excuse. I have been thinking a lot these days. I spoke with Caleb. He told me very hard things. He made me see patterns that I didn't want to admit. What patterns? That I have used you for years? That I have taken everything you give without ever asking myself what it costs you? That I have allowed Harper to treat you badly because it was easier than standing up to my wife? That basically I have been a terrible son. The tears finally fell down his cheeks. It was strange seeing my son, this 38-year-old man, cry like when he was a child. But I didn't get up to comfort him. I remained seated, waiting for him to continue. The night of the 24th, after everyone left, Harper and I had the worst fight of our marriage. I told her about the eating in the kitchen thing. I told her that was what broke you, and she defended herself, saying she was just being practical. That you would have understood. But even as she said it, I saw in her face that she knew it was wrong. And now what? I asked directly. Now I want to fix it. I want to make it up to you. You can't make up for 30 years in one conversation, Liam. It doesn't work that way. His face fell. So what? Do you hate me? You don't want to see me anymore? I don't hate you, I said with a firm voice. You are my son and I will always love you. But the kind of relationship we had, where I gave everything and you took everything, that relationship died. If we want to build something new, it has to be on completely different terms. What terms? I got up, went to my room, took out a sheet I had written at the hotel during my last night. I had titled it, New Rules of Engagement. I handed it to Liam. He read aloud. 1. My availability will never be assumed again. Any request for my time or work must be made with a minimum of 3 weeks' notice and await my response before confirming plans. 2. My house is my private space. It cannot be used for events without explicit and enthusiastic invitation. 3. If I cook for any family event, it will be because I chose to do it, not because it was expected of me, and I will always have a place at the main table. 4. My time has value. If you need significant work from me, there will be agreed compensation, or I will simply say no without guilt. 5. Limits are two-way. If I cannot assume your availability, you cannot disappear when I need something. 6. Respect is mandatory. Any family member who treats me with condescension, speaks badly to me, or ignores me will lose access to my presence. 7. I will take vacations when I want. I won't ask for permission. I won't feel guilt. My well-being is as important as that of any other member of this family. Liam finished reading. He folded the paper carefully. Can I keep this? It is yours. Share it with Harper. Share it with whoever you need to. Those are my conditions. They are not negotiable. I accept them, he said immediately. I accept everything. Mom, just give me a chance to prove to you that I can be better, that I can be the son you deserve. You don't need to prove anything to me now, I said softer. You just need to keep your promises. Actions over months and years, not words during a conversation. Liam nodded. He stood up. He hugged me. And this time I returned the hug, because despite everything, he was still my son. And part of truly loving is establishing limits that protect the relationship instead of destroying it. After Liam left, Susan came over. How did it go? Difficult, painful, but necessary. And now what? Now I wait. I wait to see if he really learned something, or if in 3 months we will return to the old patterns. Susan took my hands. Eleanor, regardless of what happens with Liam, promise me something. Promise me you will never go back to being the woman you were before that trip to the beach. I promise you, I said, and I meant it seriously. The next few months were interesting. Liam complied surprisingly well. He called to ask how I was, not to ask me for things. He invited me to dinner at restaurants 3 times. He paid. He chose places he knew I liked. Harper apologized 2 weeks later. Her apology wasn't perfect. There were still justifications. There were still buts. But there was genuine acknowledgement that she had crossed the line. We didn't become close friends, but the hostility disappeared. The children, my grandchildren, started visiting me more. Liam made sure they spent time with me without the pressure of big events. We played. We talked. They built a real relationship with me, not just with Grandma the cook. And I kept taking my vacations. In March I went to the mountains. In July I went back to the beach. In October I visited a vineyard. Each trip was a reaffirmation of my new life, a life where I mattered as much as everyone else. The following Christmas was different. Liam asked me in October what I wanted to do. I want a small dinner, I said. Maximum 10 people. And I want it to be at a restaurant, not at my house. And I want that this year. I just arrived to enjoy. Done, he said, without a second of hesitation. And so it was. Christmas at a beautiful restaurant, just close family. Me sitting at the head of the table. Delicious food someone else prepared. Real conversation. Genuine laughter. At some point during that dinner, looking at my family around the table, I realized something important. They were getting to know me for the first time. Not the servant mother. Me, Eleanor. A complete woman with dreams, limits, and unshakable dignity. That night, when I returned home, I took out a photo from that Christmas on the beach. I framed it. I put it in my living room where I could see it every day. It was my reminder that sometimes the most radical love we can give is the one we refuse to give away for free. That establishing boundaries is not cruelty, it is self-respect. That it is never too late to teach people how to treat you, and that a 66-year-old woman can still change her whole life with one brave decision. So let me ask you something. If you were in my place, would you have done the same, or would you have gone even further? Because sometimes, the only way to save a family is daring to break the patterns that are destroying it from the inside. And I finally dared.